Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Guess that's you guys.
Ugly, untalented gays. Finally, a film which I can relate to. Where the hell do I start with this film? Oh my gosh. Ruby Cruz looks like a very young, adorable Shane in this film, and I kind of want to adopt her. Not in a weird way, just in a weird way. There's even a sword moment. They know their audience. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video, I'm just going to be reviewing the film Bottoms. Oh lord. And this video will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. Before we begin, I just want to say a quick thank you to my members for supporting my content. For everybody else to either enjoy or hate watch. And we all know there's a fine line between love and hate, and I know you dream of crossing it. It's the only thing that helps me get out of bed in the morning. If you're not familiar with Bottoms, it's about unpopular best friends PJ and Josie who start a high school fight club in order to meet girls and lose their virginity. So to start with, I found the humor in this film a little bit of a mixed bag. Some of it was punchy, organic, and well timed, but some of it was also immature and crude, like reminiscent of things 7-year-olds say to sound edgy and then laugh about. And because of that, when I started watching this film, I was worried that it might lack substance. However, as the film went on, I realized, luckily, that that wasn't the case. I knew going into this film that it was extremely unserious. I mean, the title and the synopsis do give you an idea of the energy that this film contains. But still, humor is such a subjective thing that even if you understand you're going to be watching a satirical and absurdist comedy, your enjoyment of it is still going to be somewhat dependent on your personal comedic tastes. And for me, as I say, it was a mixed bag. I do respect how unapologetically off the wall that this film is. Like, this film sounds ridiculous on paper, and yet they've somehow managed to make it work, for the most part. And for that, they have my undying respect. I think without a doubt, one of the strongest aspects of this film is its portrayal of teenage girls. It sounds crazy to say this in 2023, but it's refreshing how human the female characters in this film are. They're all various combinations of flawed, thoughtful, idiotic, vulnerable, violent, messy, goofy, and thirsty, which is a stark contrast to the two-dimensional teenage girl stereotypes that we're used to seeing recycled again and again in coming-of-age movies. Even if the female characters in Bottoms are exaggerated or absurd at times, it was a joy to see teenage girls so fleshed out and humanized. Alongside that, there was such a diversity of female characters, and it felt organic. No one was there to serve as a token or for virtue signaling purposes, which was another refreshing aspect of the film. Most importantly, this film is very gay, but the characters are not defined by being gay, which allows the film to explore other aspects of the characters and their dynamics with each other outside of that. It's also very rare to have a film which focuses on a lesbian friendship as opposed to a romantic relationship, and seeing that dynamic on screen felt fresh. I think what's interesting about this film is not only that PJ and Josie are so obviously a gender swap of the countless underdog male characters that we see in coming-of-age films, but they're also lesbians as well. So it's fascinating to watch how the entire messaging and landscape of the film changes around those aspects. The narrative and structure of this film is very familiar, and yet due to the type of characters it's centered around, it feels like it's in an entirely different universe. Even though the core of this film is about friendship, I still enjoyed the secondary romantic elements in Bottoms. And I thought Josie and Isabel were really cute together. I could tell that both actors made an effort to build an authentic connection between those two characters, which just made all the difference. Especially considering all the obstacles between the two of them and the more absurd aspects surrounding their relationship. The film also did a good job of balancing the romantic elements out with everything else going on, so that it didn't dominate the narrative and left room to explore other relationship dynamics between the characters, yet also wasn't just a surface level afterthought chucked in there for the sake of it either. And I appreciate that Josie and Isabel got a happy ending. I really think that their relationship brought a much needed warmth and vulnerability to the tapestry of chaos and selfishness that surrounded them. As for PJ, I did cringe out of my skin when she tried to kiss Brittany. I did. If that was me, I would have changed my name and left the country. There ain't no way. There just ain't no way. I couldn't live with that. I felt the way the relationship between PJ and Brittany was written was a little odd because I felt the audience was led to believe that Brittany was sending out subtle signals and she was flirting with PJ a little bit, especially when they were on the bed. And because they were kind of flirting on the bed together, it seemed like an odd way to set Brittany telling PJ that she's straight up. Like, yes, PJ being delusional, the delusion is relatable, is on brand for her, but I don't think she necessarily was being delusional when she tried to kiss her. At the same time, I do understand that some women are naturally flirtatious and it doesn't really mean anything when they do flirt. So perhaps they were just trying to reflect that in the film, but my god, I have never cringed so much watching something in my life. This film is an advertisement for why you should always ask first. Always. Always. As for PJ and Hazel, I was kind of caught off guard by them kissing, even if it was only as a distraction. I just don't know how I feel about them as a potential couple, but I also wasn't mad about the kiss. The kiss was relevant to my interests. I mean, yeah. Also, they do kind of have that antagonistic enemies to lovers thing going on at one point, so yeah, I get maybe. As I said earlier, Hazel just looks like a young baby Shane in this film, and I just had love hearts in my eyes the entire time I was looking at her. I would really love for Ruby Cruz to do a gay romantic comedy at some point. I mean, I know this is a gay romantic comedy, but I'd like her to, like, you know, play the lead because she's cute and she's handsome. She's adorable. Okay, moving on. The lesbian drips in this film are god tier. As a lesbian, fashion-wise, I had a lot of envy watching this film. The wardrobe department for this film absolutely understood the assignment. They did. Or they're just gay. Yeah. Like I said earlier, I wasn't expecting this film to have a lot of substance, but it does. Bottoms has a lot to say about the female experience. It touches upon how women are reduced to their looks, no matter what their other accomplishments are. There's a lot of quips about feminism inserted in the film, both visually and verbally. And there's small background details, such as a poster of a young woman with the words, "You're prettier when you smile, he could be looking at you right now," plastered across her, which not only highlights the notion of women existing for the male gaze, but is also utilised to display the contrast between that notion and the film's own portrayal of women, which subverts it. This poster is also surrounded by a lot of pictures of Jeff. In fact, these many pictures of Jeff are prevalent all throughout the film and work as a visual representation of the exaggerated importance of what he represents, not only within the microcosm of the film, but within wider patriarchal society, all of which threads into the rich feminist tapestry of Bottoms. It also doesn't shy away from issues such as sexual assault. I felt the most potent part of the film was when all the girls were sitting in a circle for the purpose of trauma sharing, and PJ very bluntly asks, "So who here has been raped?" grey area stuff counts too. And almost all of the girls put their hands up, which of course reflects the shocking and awful statistics of girls and women who have faced some kind of sexual assault or worse. And I thought this moment in the film was so incredibly powerful because it approaches the topic of rape and sexual assault as a joke and then immediately switches it up to portray a very dark and sobering reality of what girls and women actually experience disproportionately in this world. So I thought that scene was incredibly powerful. The film is actually rather intelligent and it does have layers and it does have depth. However, I do feel like some of its messaging is lost in the looseness and the absurdity of the film. And there definitely could have been a better balance between the humour and the more serious topics they touched upon. I get that the more serious messaging in this film is disguised as or fused with humour to help the medicine go down, so to speak. Because nobody likes to be preached at, and humour is a useful tool in opening audiences up to what you're saying. And in some parts of the film, this humorous approach worked well, but in others, the humour obscured rather than reinforced some of the more serious messaging. I also appreciate that this film is satirical of a lot of other coming-of-age films, particularly male-centric ones. But there were some moments in Bottoms where I felt like they'd actually adopted the misogynistic elements from those male-centric coming-of-age films, rather than successfully portraying them through a satirical lens, which also obscured the messaging and left the film feeling a little half-baked. I think for me, those points alongside some of the more crude dialogue is where this film loses points for me. Granted that humour is subjective, so that could just be a personal hang-up of mine as opposed to an objective criticism, I suppose. But yes, I think my other points stand. Overall, I really like this film despite my initial uncertainty of it, and I think it's a unique and worthwhile contribution to not only lesbian cinema, but cinema in general. And whilst this film is not perfectly executed, it owns its messiness. And at the end of the day, it's entertaining, which is kind of what you want when you're watching a teen comedy. Ultimately, I think Bottoms is a film that people will either love or dismiss completely. I think the enjoyment of this film is highly dependent on how you receive the humour and the underlying messaging in it. Okay guys, if you've seen Bottoms, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment. That was quite the snap. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.